James, Fernette, good to see y'all. Give just 1 minute for some of our other friends to join us. And then I'm going to jump in. I'm going to share with you guys a little bit of the things we've been working on here at Brivity to improve the Brivity platform. Thanks for joining me. Tiffany, hello. I believe, I could be wrong here, but I believe that you guys are Keller Williams agents. And somebody call me out if I'm wrong on that, but it's my understanding that after being with our friends at Mega Camp last week, we wanted to share some of what we've been working on here at Brivity with our Keller Williams friends. So if you're not a Keller Williams person and you found your way in here, wow, you're impressive. You are like some kind of a secret agent. But Tiffany, Justin, James, Hannah, Clay, good to see y'all. All right, my name is Bob Stewart, and what I plan to do over the next about 40 minutes is take you guys through some of the tools, the features, and the functions that we have been enhancing here recently at Brivity. So let me share my screen with you. Let's pull this up. Let's go into a slideshow mode. And then if you guys have any questions as I'm going through here, please feel free to chat them in. If it makes sense for me to answer those questions kind of in the flow of the conversation, I will do that right there on the spot. Or I may come back at the end and circle back and answer your question then. So what's new on the Brivity platform? Again, my name is Bob Stewart. Thank you for joining me today. Any questions, fire away at any time. First thing, I'm just going to dive right in, you guys. I'm going to dive right in here. First thing is some enhancements we've made to our dialer. And I don't know how many of you guys have ever used a dialer in your real estate business, but for about the last 5 years now, we've been studying extensively what does it take to get the business that lives in my database extracted every year. Like as an agent, what do I got to do to get my hands on all those deals that happen in my database? And as we've been studying businesses for the last 5 years, what we've found is the vast majority of the deals that live in an agent's database do not get, like you do not get those deals. You don't get your hands on them. They end up doing business with somebody else, right? They're not just in your database, they're in other people's databases potentially as well. But how do you go from, I got 10% of the potential business. And by the way, we've got some formulas that can figure out like essentially for every 1,000 leads you have in an average homeownership rate market, every 1,000 leads, there's about 50 transactions a year out of 1,000 leads, right? So if you've got 5,000 leads in your database, there's about 250 deals that live in a 5,000 person database every year. What we find is most teams get their hands on about somewhere between 5 and 15% of the potential business. So 5 years ago, Ben Kinney set us out on a journey to figure out what matters in getting more of the business. And what we found is the number one thing that matters, and I got so much data to back this up, is phone calls. Like literally how much on my database will be the number one determinant of if I get the business out of my database. And so in order to do that at a high level, you almost have to use a dialer. And if I was in front of you guys right now, like it's what I would do is I'd pull my cell phone out and I'd be like, how many of you guys make phone calls to your database on your cell phone? And a lot of you guys would say, that's me. And I'd say, well, how many do it on a dialer? And it'd be a very small percentage of the room would say I do it on a dialer already. And this thing right here, it's like, it's our best weapon in our business, also potentially our biggest curse, right? This thing is designed by the smartest people in the world to distract us. Clay, like one of you guys right now in the room is on your cell phone right now as I'm talking. Like I'm screaming up here, I've got the slides up, I'm waving my hands around, and you're still on your cell phone. Like that's how powerful these things are. And so as you think about trying to make 50 calls into your business today, Clay, if you do it from a dialer, every single call that ends that moves to the next one, like what are you confronted with? I'm confronted with 9 text messages, 24 voicemails. My smart news app is on. My Nike app told me there's something new going on there. I probably had an eBay package delivered recently. I got 70 Slack messages. Like this thing is designed to get me to not make the next call in my business. In fact, in a set of teams that Ben Kinney partners with, his place partners, We had in a given month about 150 individuals that make over 1,000 dials into their real estate database, and exactly 0 of them do it on their phone. Every one of those 150 people making high volumes of dials, which lead to high volumes of business extracted, are doing it with the dialer. Now, some of the enhancements we made on this dialer recently, you can now change the status as you're talking to people. You can set up future calls, future tasks. You can keep easy call notes. You can see who's next up, being, waiting to make that next call to. If you're not using a dialer in your business, you are seriously hamstringing your ability to get that business out of the database. Number one tool, it's my favorite. Our place partners that really figure out, our Brivity customers that really figure out how to use dialers at a high level, they get more of the business, Michelle. All right, next up, this is our home value reports to nurture our seller leads. So for a long time, we've always had these kind of market reports, right? These market reports that look kind of more like, where they go, these, right? That show somebody, hey, here's what's happening around where you live, right? Here's what's currently active on the market. Here's what's currently pending. Here's what's sold recently. And in most of your MLSs, we can even show them the sold price. There's a few MLSs out there that we're not allowed to show them the price, but we can show them that it recently sold, right? We've always had these. Recently, we enhanced these so that if you have somebody's address in the database, we'll also give them an estimated home valuation. There's all sorts of tools they can play with on that thing. There's equity calculators and cash out refi calculators and, how much home could I afford? They can put in how much their mortgage is left on their mortgage to see how much equity they have. All sorts of some kind of tools on here that they can play with. And when they play with them, you get notified so that there's somebody back in there looking at what their home is worth today, Clay, so that you can make a smart call, right? You can reach out to your database at the right time because you can tell that they were in there taking action on something you're sending them. My mother uses Brivity. My mom's a real estate agent. I'm super proud of her, by the way. She did 79 transactions her first year in the business in 2017. And she calls these her come list me emails. Why? Because she drips on sellers for sometimes years with these things. And then one day they just reply and say, hey, Gail, we really appreciate it. By the way, even though she's probably called them 10 times, 15 times, they've never answered. She sent them all kinds of texts. They've never replied. But eventually they'll reply to these and say, hey, do you really think we could get 642 for our house? At which point she could use the Brivity CMA tool, go run a CMA for them, and try to set the appointment to go out there and figure out if in fact we could get 642 for their home. These are, if you're not doing this today in your business, if you're not showing people this number, they're finding it somewhere. It's one of the reasons Zillow has the massive amount of traffic it has, right? Because people can go there and look and see what their house is worth. And it doesn't matter if it's right or not. By the way, they just like to see it, right? And when they start to get closer to actually selling, they'll start to visit these things at an increased pace. And we've got all sorts of data showing that the people looking at your market reports are 3 times as likely to list their house in the next 12 months as anybody else in that database. And one of the things that we like to do at Brivity is go hunting for people that are 3 times as likely to sell than the average person who might be, floating around in my database. Now, for us, it's every single person in the database with an email and a physical address. Boom, they're getting one of these home value reports. And 1,000-person database every day is going to have some opportunity popping up because somebody's engaged these reports. We recently enhanced our seller lead capture kind of funnel. So the seller lead capture pages on your Brivity website, which, by the way, a Brivity website's fully customizable. Well, 99%. You guys can't control the actual lead generation levers. We control those for you because we're really good at it, and we've been doing it for about 20 years. But everything else on the website can look however you want. So if this was your seller lead capture page and that doesn't look in the background like a house where you sell at, Clay, cool. We'll make it look like an area that Clay sells at, right? James, if you sell, Townhomes on the beach in Florida. Awesome. We'll make this look like a townhome on the beach in Florida. And it'll say, how much is your Florida townhome really worth? Right? We can customize all of this, but the funnel itself, once they enter their address here and we go try to gain additional information, their name, their address, or their email, their phone number, right, their time frame, all these things, we control that funnel. And we recently worked with a couple of the top kind of SEM, pay-per-click marketing experts, even outside of our company. And we've got some really good ones at our company, but we went and grabbed some of the best out there and we said, help us improve our funnels. And so our funnels on our seller lead capture stuff is much improved, leading to much higher quality leads, right? More times we're getting a real name, email, and phone number on these people when they go to try to ask the question that Zillow's been answering for years, right? How much is my house worth? Your Brivity website would have the ability to do that in much the same way. Once they've done that, we can get them then set up on the drip market report that every week, every 2 weeks, once a month, whatever we decide, we'll keep them updated then on what's happening with that home's value. And you can watch them engage with that thing and make calls at the right time. Look, real estate, Justin, if you've done it long enough, you realize it's all about timing, but we can increase our ability to be on time and to be at the right timing by having these tools that give our consumer what they want and allows us to have visibility into what they're looking at. In Gail's scenario earlier where I said, hey, maybe that lady would say, hey, Gail, do you really think we could get 642,000? She could then use the Brivity CMA tool to go out and do an actual CMA that she would take out to the appointment that she had set with that person to discuss if we could really get 642,000. Now, our CMA tool is based on the 555 method of pricing properties. And our founder here at Brivity, Ben Kinney, is a Keller Williams agent. He's been, one of the top Keller Williams agents for years. That 555 methodology is how we built our CMA tool around. So it's hooked up to your MLS. It's taking in the data from your MLS every 15 minutes, and it allows you to then go in and pick 5 actives, 5 pendings, and 5 recently sold properties that are similar or comparable to your subject property. And it will then do all the calculations and kind of crunch out a price range that we believe that home is ultimately should be listed inside of. And you can manipulate that range and, really cool. You can print this thing out. You can send it ahead of time to them as an email. You can pull it up on your iPad when you're there and you're getting ready to discuss pricing during your listing presentation, Samantha. All right. By the way, as we're going through here, you can see at the bottom, if you're like, okay, I've heard enough, I need this right now, just text platform to 59559. Like if you pulled out your cell phone, you send a message to the number 59559, it's called a short code. The body of that message, just text the word platform, and somebody on our team will reach out and get you set up with a full demo where you can like tell them where to go and drive and look behind the scenes and look under the covers and all that stuff. This is the non-address based market reports. So in our world, if you come in to our database, you are absolutely getting set up to receive something. Okay, if we know where you live, we're going to set you up to receive a home value report. How much is my house worth? If we don't know where you live, especially you're a buyer lead, we're like, we don't know where this buyer lead lives. We know he's looking for a house in Bellingham, Washington, but we do not know where he or she lives. What we do is they get a listing alert. We'll talk about that in a second. But they're also going to get a market report. So if I had somebody that came into my world, they were a Zillow lead, they were a Realtor.com lead, they came to my website, they were looking at a $500,000 house in Bellingham, I'm going to start sending them properties from $450,000 to $550,000 in Bellingham. Listing alert, it's going to go once a day. Then once a week, I'm going to set them up on one of these market reports that's going to show them everything happening in Bellingham between $450,000 and $550,000. I want them to see that house I sent them 3 days ago, sorry, it's pending. In fact, most houses in Bellingham listed at $499, sell in a couple of days. And I want that buyer to start to get a really good idea of what's happening in that market that they're trying to buy into. That 1-2 combination of, hey, here's the new listings, but once a week, hey, here's the stuff that's no longer active. Some of the stuff that I sent you before is now pending. some of the stuff I sent you 30 to 45 days ago, it's actually closed. And here's what it's sold for. And this will create a more educated buyer. Somebody paying attention to these things, they're not going to come in and try to offer 450 on a 499 listing in Bellingham, because they've been seeing that all those properties that were listed at 499, they go pending in 2 days and they end up selling for 100 to 105% of the list price, right? I'm not going to get away with making an offer at 85% of the list price. Market reports, nurture buyer leads, really effective strategy to kind of give them that 1-2 of the data. Here's our listing alerts. Look, we're heavy believers in this. In fact, I'm a believer that everybody in your sphere, all your past clients, and most of your leads should be on a listing alert. Like if you were a true, consultant to your past clients, wouldn't like one day your past clients, Tiffany McClung, one day you have a past client in your world that's going to wake up and they're going to think to themselves, it's time to move. Now, if previous to that, you've never had a conversation with them that said, hey, Tiffany, listen, I know you guys love your house, but one day you're going to wake up and you're going to think, all right, it's time to get the dream house, right? Like, what would that dream house be? One day you're going to wake up, because for me, for years, my wife and I wanted to own a property on the lake that we could go to and then we could Airbnb. For 3 years, we looked for that thing. But had my agent never asked me the question what my dream house was, if they'd never been sending me alerts for that dream house once a week just to make sure that I remember that she's my agent, I might have woke up one day, Tiffany, said, you know what? It's time to go find that lake house. And where would I have went? It wouldn't have been to Gail's website. It would have been to Zillow. It would have been to Google. And then I would have ended up on some other agent site because they were paying for advertising that day. I might have went to realtor.com or Redfin. It's highly likely I wouldn't have went to Samantha's website to find that house that today I woke up and decided I needed. As a true consultant to your sphere and your past clients, we should be asking them the question, hey, one day you might wake up and think, it's time to move. Where would that be? Like in the perfect world, right? So everybody could have a listen. Look, all our leads should. If I have a lead, by the way, any of you guys have old leads? Like who's been around for more than 3 years? You've been around for more than 3 years. You got some old leads floating around, right? Some old open house leads from when you first got into business. Your broker said you should be doing open houses. You did a whole bunch of them, and 1 out of 50 actually bought a house, and the 49 other leads sit in your database. In our world, they're getting a listing alert. Where? I don't know. If I didn't even know where they'd come to an open house at, they're going to get a generic alert for kind of my major town. Maybe I'm in Bellingham, Washington, so they'd get Bellingham, 400 to 800,000. Go. I just want to give them something. Michelle Watson, the alternative to something is nothing, and nothing is not going to get them engaged with us. Now, if I got enough people on these listing alerts, right, I'm going to start to build up kind of an inventory of leads, potential buyers that have looked at properties. And the longer I have Brivity, the larger that'll get. Oh, by the way, your clients that are getting those listing alerts from you when they're at work on their computer, like I am right now, I'm probably going to look at that listing alert on your desktop website, like on a browser on my computer on your website. But when I'm at home tonight on the couch watching American Idol and I want to keep browsing for more properties, the best experience is an app. And so we have an app that you can put on the phones of your clients, your customers, your leads, and they can look on the app, or when they're at work, they can look on the desktop. And in the CRM, you see all of the activity no matter where they're looking. And when they're in those two different environments, they sync up. So if they're favoriting properties on the app, tomorrow when they pull it up at work to show their coworker, they'll be able to find those favorites. Now you start getting enough people on your website, the next time you take a listing, what you're going to do is you're going to go use this reverse prospecting functionality. This is one of my favorite functionalities because I don't know if you remember earlier when I was talking the market reports and those people are 3 times as likely to sell. I said, I like to call people where there's a higher likelihood that I'm going to find an appointment when I call them. Reverse prospecting is one of the highest likelihoods of finding an appointment. Essentially what you're doing, let's say I took a new listing at $475,000. right? I can come into my database and say, my listing's in Bellingham, and I can pull that property up that I just listed on the MLS. And I can easily, in one click, go find everybody in my database in the past that's looked at a property in that city and in that price range. And sometimes, Rex, I might even add in a neighboring city or three. So like in Bellingham, if I was, listed something at 475, I might go look for everybody that's looked in Bellingham and Ferndale and Blaine and Linden between 450 and 500,000. And in this case, I've got 68 people that I could call, including a bunch that were just recently on my website, and let them know, Michelle, about my brand new listing that just hit the market. Some of our teams, when they really get this dialed, they'll list their property on Tuesday, right? Tuesday afternoon, they'll call all their matches and they'll invite them to come do a private showing on Friday ahead of the open house on Saturday. They're trying to give that buyer a potential leg up on all of the people we know are going to come through that open house on Saturday. And in some of our markets where, especially in like that first time home buyer price point, things are still moving relatively quickly, to be able to give buyers in our own database a leg up on the competition, even if it's only 24 hours, can really be a big deal. We've got a bunch of amazing scripts around what you say to these people when you're calling to show them a property exactly like one that they've been looking at in the past that just hit the market, an hour ago. This is really valuable stuff to bring to your database, Vernette. We've got Facebook lead campaigns. So Brivity's all hooked up. You can and it's all hooked up to your MLS feeds and your website. You can easily get ads typed out. Now, the recent enhancement we made is, what we used to do is the ad would get seeded with your property description essentially from the MLS. Like that was kind of the base of the ad. You could go in and edit it or tweak it. Today, what we do instead is we have AI take your property description and all of the elements of that property from the IDX feed, and the AI goes and writes you an actual ad that's designed to get people to click on that ad. So you'll see emojis in there because we know that emojis draw attention to our advertising, but they'll go in there and create, the AI will, an ad that you can easily, in about 2 clicks, get posted out to the socials, to the Facebook ad environment. And still today, all these years later, it's one of the most cost-effective ways to load your database up with prospects for the future. So if you've ever been somebody who's like, yeah, I'd like to do that stuff, but man, I sit there for an hour and I just get so tangled up about what I want the ad to actually say, let AI do it for you. Why? Because it's got all the brains of all the ads that are ever written, so that it knows what's the best type of content to go create around that listing. Like my wife and I recently had a property listed, and our agent's a Brivity user, no question. It's actually my mother. And my mom, like the AI, so we had a property on Capitol Hill in Seattle. It's like a 99 walk score. It's an amazing little area up in Seattle to live. And the property description was pretty good that Gail had written in the MLS, but the AI took the ad and made it act as if I was like walking through and living one day in the city. And it was like, imagine walking out onto your balcony and seeing the Space Needle, and 2 steps away is the local Starbucks. And like, it was just a really good ad. Got a lot of leads. Didn't end up being the person that bought our house, but Gail's got a few people that'll buy a condo somewhere else in Seattle. I hope that you guys have some way out at your signs to capture people's information that's not a flyer. Like, if you're still using flyers in 2024, I beg of you to do something that trades that information on the flyer for the contact information of the lead. Like, imagine if every time somebody walked by and grabbed your flyer out of the box, if you could just gently grab their hand and say, "Excuse me, sir, what's your cell phone number?" That's essentially what our text-based mobile strategy does. It's called Quickly, and it allows you to use a short code out at that property. And when somebody wants information about it, we exchange. I'm having a heck of a time with these headphones today. My goodness. We exchange that property information, the price, the photos, the bedrooms, the bathrooms, the square footage, for their cell phone number, which, by the way, the most valuable piece of information that you can get about somebody is their cell phone number, right? Because now we can call them and we can text them. The genesis of Brivity, when Ben Kinney first set out to build software many, many years ago, it was to manage his growing business. And as he had a team, I don't know how many of you guys have a team, one day want to have a team. What will happen is one day people will be going out and making promises in your name. Michelle, if you have a team today and you've got agents on your team and they're representing the team as they go out to that seller, they're going to make certain promises. And so Ben built the first iteration of Brivity to manage transactions. And it was essentially for two things. One, to create transparency with the consumer so they could see everything we were doing to get their house sold for the fees that we charge. But the second reason was to create consistency in his business so that he knew when his team went out and made promises, his operations staff that was actually delivering on those promises was delivering on them consistently for the consumer. So that I wasn't doing 50 things to get this person's house sold, but I did 150 to get this other person's house sold. When we make promises, our smart transaction auto plans allow us to deliver on all the promises. Here's the other cool thing. They automate a whole bunch of the communication. So we can do things inside of our transaction auto plans like send an automatic text reminder to the seller the day before their home inspection. We can even include in there automatically the name of the home inspector and the home inspector's phone number in case they needed to change the appointment. We can key off an automatic email to go out to the title company, letting them know that we'd like to open title on this property with this address and this MLS number and this price. Lots of automated functionality behind our transaction plans. I really do believe that our transaction functionality is industry leading. And we have teams that with, one director of operations and 2 VAs will manage 300 transactions this year. Like that's the kind of efficiency that you can deliver if you leverage all of these these automations that we make available to you during the transaction. It can be based on dates and milestones, and it's all customizable too. Like you guys have different dates in different states, or your team might do different things throughout the transaction. We've got templates of these plans you can build on. You can start from scratch and build your own. It's highly likely you could find another Brivity user, Hannah, in your area that you could copy a plan from and then iterate on top of. If you're not setting goals in your real estate business, I don't know what you're doing. Like, I guess you're just doing this for fun. Professionals set goals. So if you're a professional real estate agent, you likely have goals. Wouldn't it be cool if inside your CRM, you could set not just your production goals, but your activity goals that you're going to require to get to the production that you're hoping to do? We've got all that stuff laid out in Brivity. You can set goals on the production side. How many deals do I want to do? How much GCI do I want to clear? Right? How many pendings is that going to take? I can also set goals on the activity side. How many phone calls am I going to need? How many appointments am I going to need to set? How many contacts am I going to need to make each month? And then we've got all these dashboards at the business level and at the individual agent level that will show you how much progression you're making towards those goals that you've set. This is accounting for your business. And like my friend Ben Kinney likes to say, a lack of accounting, Tiffany, leads to a lack of accountability, right? If we want ourselves, our teams, our agents to be accountable, we need to set goals to be accountable towards. And then we need to account for what we're doing to get to those goals. Really extensive goal setting and reporting inside of Brivity. Brivity Marketer is the last thing I want to show you guys today. Should we go take a look? Let's just go take a look at Brivity Marketer. I'm going to log in here as my friend John. By the way, there's a leaderboard if you were curious how you stack up against other people on the team or other people inside of Brivity. There's a leaderboard in there where you can see that. Things like how many calls have I made and how do I stack up against other people on my team or other people inside of Brivity. Let's go over real quick to John's Marketer. And inside of Brivity Marketer, this is going to be where we'll see all of our direct mail marketing options. We'll see those Facebook ads that we can send, right? Digital ads. So if I want to run a Facebook ad, click right there, pull in the listing. It's really easy. I'll show you guys how easy it is to make like an open house flyer in here. So I come in here, I'm like, I want to do an open house flyer. We got tons of templates in here for you to choose from. I'm like, I want to do this one. Perfect. I hit create. I go in here and I pull in my MLS number. right? So let's say I'm at 156 here. It's this property right here. No, that's not it. 154. Does that one have? Uh-oh, now we're trying to find a property in a market that I don't know at all. Oh, here we go. Buckley, bang. That's his listing. He hits create print media. Boom. He's got a flyer right there for his property. And this is every property in the MLS. So if I was hosting an open house, it wasn't my listing. It was like another person in my office's listing. Cool. We can pull that in there for you too, right? If I wanted to edit this and change the photo because there's a better photo from the backyard that I really wanted to highlight, I just come in here. I've got all the MLS photos are in here waiting for me. And guys, in 2 minutes, I can have a beautifully designed photo that uses any of the MLS photos I want. And I'm going to use, this one with the lighting there. I like that one a little bit better from the street or whatever. Maybe I'll use this one on the front of the house. Easy peasy. If my open house is at a different time, I can just pop right in here and change the time, whatever I want to do. When I'm done, I can download it. I can print it off if I wanted. Tons of different opportunities in here for your marketing, like any kind of social marketing that you guys would think to do on the the socials, the Twitter, the Facebook, X, I guess it's called now, right? LinkedIn, like wherever you're posting on social, we've got tons and tons of social graphics. And again, the IDX feed is hooked up in here, so all the properties are here, all the descriptions, all the photos. If I had just sold the property, I could come in here and pull in my just solds. If I wanted to do some marketing around the holidays, or maybe I'm looking to recruit some agents to my team. Guys, everything that you would ever need to market your real estate business. Maybe I've got a listing coming soon. It's all in here. We've got them in the different sizes, the story sizes, the square sizes for your timelines, social media through the nose. You guys, direct mail marketing. We do direct mail in here. It's USPS first class mail. We've got lists you can send to. We've got an algorithm that can target the best properties. If you guys take a new listing, or when you sell a listing, we automatically key up a postcard. You can choose to send it or not. I think if we were to come in here and look at some of John's mailers, he may not have sent these, but they're waiting here for him to have sent. When he listed this property, there was a postcard back here waiting to send. Now, he didn't actually send it to anybody, but he could have. Our postcards have tracking on them. You can use QR codes, and if somebody shoots that QR code, you get a lead from that homeowner's home address, an address-only lead. Clay, we've got a tool in there you can use to go look up and see if we can find a name, an email address, and a phone number for that person. Samantha says, we got 2 leads recently from our first postcards. Love it. I bet she got those from either the QR code or the short URL that tracks to every single house as well. It's fantastic. So I just wanted to give you a quick peek inside of Brivity Marketer. We kick out a couple new templates a week in here. You can do videos for your properties. There's even a Facebook video ad component that you can run video ads. Okay. Those are some of the things that are new here on the Brivity platform. There's all the old stuffs here too, right? Auto plans and listing alerts and market reports and our ability to go see who's looking at what. Here's what I want you to do. If you spent the last half hour and you don't have Brivity and you're thinking to yourself, that sounded pretty good, do yourself a favor and text platform to 59559. Like, you owe it to yourself to explore just a little bit deeper. Talk to our sales team. We have price points, Justin, to meet everybody's budget. As your team grows, like you might need a little bit more of Brivity, but we've got price points all along the way. So pull your phone out right now, text platform to 59559, and Connor, Jake, Tim, one of the folks on our sales team will reach out to you and give you all the details, talk to you about pricing. They can take you in and show you the websites. We didn't really even dive too deep into the websites. Those are super powerful. 99% customizable, Clay. They can look however you want them to look and feel. Okay, appreciate you guys joining me today. Do yourself a favor. Right now, when you get off, text platform to 59559. Somebody will reach out today. Justin, Michelle, we'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks, Samantha. Thanks, Hannah, for chatting in. Bye, everybody. Have a great week.